Well, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, held in Council Chambers at 216 Main Street West, Swan River, Manitoba, this 23rd day of May, 2023 at 7 p.m. Present this evening, myself, Reeve, Gade, Councillors Brian Burick, Brad Kushniryk, Byron Zbirun, Raymond McGregor, and Carrie Blosha. Also with us tonight, Interim CAO Pat Ellingson, and our videographer Jeremy is away, so we have Danielle in his place this evening. We do have a notice of absence, so we'll go straight to that this evening. Be it resolved that the notice of absence submitted by Councillor Neely regarding the regular meeting of Council held this 23rd day of May 2023 be accepted as received. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Blosha and a seconder. Councillor Zbirun. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favour? That is carried. We'll move to item 3, adopting the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of Council this 23rd day of May shall be adopted as presented. Is there a mover? Let's go with Councillor Kushniryk and Councillor McGregor. Now this evening I'm proposing we do make a change. I wanted to add a 5-2 for delegation from the Manitoba Metis Federation, if that would please Council. Anybody have any troubles with that? No? Okay, so let's change this to as amended. Is that all right with the mover and the seconder? Any further discussion on the resolution or any other changes to the agenda anyone wishes to consider? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favour? That too is carried. Let's head to the minutes. Item number 4 on our agenda. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on May 9th, 2023 be adopted as presented. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Kushniryk and a seconder. Councillor Zbirun. Has everyone had a chance to go over the minutes, or do you need a minute or two? How's everybody doing? Everybody okay? Yep. Any errors or omissions in the minutes that anyone would like to speak about tonight? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favour? That's carried. 5-1, our Public Works lead hand will join us later tonight. He has information that he feels is best in camera, so that'll be a little later. Let's head to 5-2 then. Our delegation, Dustin, joins us tonight from the Manitoba Metis Federation. He's here to talk about a public hearing we're going to hold on the 13th of June, but he's here this evening, so I wanted him to have the opportunity to come and explain to us what the project is and what they're proposing, so we get the information from him while he's here. So bring your chair on up. And
wonderful. Thank you very much, everybody. So yes, my name is Dustin Patson. I'm a senior policy analyst with the Manitoba Metis Federation for the President's Office. And I'm here today to discuss a little bit about what we are planning for our Red River Métis Youth Camp over at our site located in Northwest 24-34-27 West. So we're hoping to develop a 40-person youth camp that would be 40 youth and plus counselors. The whole initiative is specifically focusing on providing youth land-based learning opportunities as well as life skills building opportunities in a fun and safe environment. We're hoping to build 4 cabins, 10 youth in each cabin, plus a counselor, and a divided washroom facilities, one for boys, one for girls. And I have a couple renderings that I'd like to share with you, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Wonderful. Let's bring it up here. So first of all, our initial site plan of the property. I'm sorry, I wish I would have brought a bigger screen, but what it looks like is we have a driveway coming in, this is existing, and it loops around our garage, this is also an existing building, and we have our main house. It was originally a home that we purchased, which we are converting into the main councillor building. Will be a lot of activities being taking place in the building, and we also have our main industrial kitchen in the building. We're planning on building this little kind of roundabout in the back where all 4 cabins will be situated with the divided washrooms. This is the renderings that our architects had put together for us. As you can see, there are 4 cabins and a divided washroom, and then a community spot in the middle where we can have fires and whatnot. We really hope to have this facility open up this summer. We're aiming for August 1st, but as you are aware that the current zoning for our property is residential / agriculture, farming. So we're hoping to get our conditional use permit so that we can start as soon as possible. And does anybody have any further questions?
You know
Excellent.
whose place that was?
Nope.
It was, it's the one that Bob and Sally have been working at?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were, yes,
it's,
that's the same one.
I know, it'll come to me. I know whose place, it's a beautiful spot.
It is a very beautiful spot. For those of you who haven't had the opportunity to be around that way, I do have a couple photos here I can share with you. So this is the mapping locations. This is our topographic view of our 40-acre site. We own another property just north of that, 160 acres. And then when you first get into the property, it's a beautiful, beautiful site. There's an existing house there. Like I said, there's a garage. And we plan on converting this back part of the lot where they'll have those cabins. And then the main building, like I said, was where a lot of our activities will be taking place, the mess hall, rec area, etc. But again, we would love to bring that to the community, and if anybody has any questions at any time, please feel free to contact me, and I'm really hoping and looking forward to working with you all.
Once it's all built, what kind of season would it have each year?
Well, very good question, actually. We're building it currently so that it can be a year-round facility, both summer, winter, fall, all the way around. Our first year, however, if we open up in August, we get that opportunity. We're very likely only going to run the summer months and then have maybe day camps in winter just to kind of ease into things. And then their second year, we're looking at full programming.
Ages from?
Well, currently that's being developed with our programs and service delivery team. But we believe it'll be between 7 and 16 to start, and then we may be wrapping around from there. But again, that can all subject to change with the program and delivery team. We could extend those age groups a little bit more, or we can bring it down to early learning childcare, depending on how that all plays out with our government.
Do you have anything like this in Manitoba other than?
No, this will be the first of its kind. Yes.
Could I have a contact number in case we had questions or something we wanted to call you?
Of course, yes. That's 01204 880 6886.
Do you have a card, Dustin?
You know what? I should have brought it. Yeah. I'll make sure I bring some next time.
You're gonna learn that.
I know.
Thing,
Yeah, yeah.
Can you tell us about jobs?
Yes, that's a very good question as well. Again, depending on the program and service delivery team, that will really determine what positions we will be looking for. But what I do know of right now is there'll be a counselor for every cabin, so that's 4 there. We'll also have a counselor in the main site, so that's 5, and then we're going to have a caretaking team, so that's 2 individuals there. So we're looking at least 7 jobs, and potentially more, depending on
Like
how that
cooks
unfolds.
and stuff like that, or not?
The counselors will be
do-
cooking, and then
okay.
also teaching the children,
Okay.
depending on the age group, how to cook certain things.
Right. Anybody else have questions? Dustin, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it.
We're very happy you picked our area.
Excellent. Me too. It's a beautiful area.
Our process, from what I can understand of it tonight, we're going to be the 13th of June before we give you a final answer.
Wonderful.
But we do have we'll be scheduling a hearing later tonight for that. I don't expect we'll have a bunch of people here to oppose it, but if there is, we'll listen to them, and we'll, usually if we do get opposition, we come back to the applicant and ask for ways to resolve any concerns there are.
Okay.
So we would never say a hard no. If there's a way to make it work, we'll do our best.
Wonderful. I really appreciate your time, everybody, and I will see everyone on the 13th. Okay, lovely. Have a lovely evening.
You too.
Let us move to 6 general business. We'll go 6-1 Safe Grad. So attached here is a copy of the advertisement from last year. Good evening. New Swan Valley West. This is proposed for the June 27th issue of the Star and Times this year. We have a resolution prepared. If council wants to go ahead with this, it looks like we probably do. Be it resolved that the Council of Swan Valley West approve the Safe Grad Ad to be published in the June 27th issue of the Star and Times. Is there someone to move that? Councillor Burick and a seconder. Councillor Zbirun. Any discussion on the resolution or on what the ad says? Would you like any changes? Obviously, we'll change 2022 to 2023, but otherwise, is there anything you'd like different there? Any other discussion? Easy crowd tonight. We'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. As we promised Dustin a moment ago, here comes resolution 6-2 for conditional use. Whereas the owners of Northwest 24-34-27 West have made application for conditional uses provided in bylaw 238304 of the former arm of Swan River. Therefore, be it resolved that a public hearing be scheduled for June 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m. to hear presentations from those interested in the application. Be it further resolved that advertising the public hearing be approved as per policy. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Blosha, and someone to second the resolution. Councillor Kushniryk. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. 6-3 is another hearing scheduling. Whereas the owners of Northeast 93528 have made application to subdivide their property in a variance to allow non-farm subdivision over 10 acres, therefore be it resolved, the public hearing shall be set for June 27th, 2023 at 7 p.m. and that advertising for the public hearing be approved as per policy. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Kushniryk, and someone to second the resolution. Councillor Blosha. Any discussion on that resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? Oh, did you have?
No, good.
We can go back.
No, I'm good.
6-4. So council has invoices here that are available on the public agenda as well. These were received a few days ago. May 12th, these came into the office. These are from Minitonas-Bowsman for services rendered in 2021. There's an invoice here for $12,827.49 for Bowsman Fire Department. An invoice for $14,992.13 for the Bowsman nuisance grounds. And then there's sort of explanation further back, but there's a second invoice, which is for $1,708.95 for a bunch of fire calls. And there's explanations for each call attached to that. So, they are 2021 invoices. We thought they should come to council for some direction from council of what to do. Would you like us to just go ahead and pay these?
Why are they 2021?
We have no idea. We could certainly go and ask those questions. They arrived in the pound. Normally they would have gone straight to check run, except because of the dates they got yanked out of check run to come to council and say, let's just take a second look.
So you never talked to them at all?
We have not yet. It's been a little hard to contact people in their office the last few days.
Should we talk to them first before we decide on?
We certainly could. I think we would have already if there had been someone there to call.
Yeah.
Especially
Yes.
since like they've charged us for motor vehicle accidents, that's paid by
MPI.
MPIs. So I think we should question it.
Question it, yeah.
Okay, so we won't bring a resolution tonight. We will have staff reach out to, it may have to be the Reeve, depending on what's going on in that office over there. But don't be surprised if it takes a few weeks before we hear an answer, but it will come
Well,
back.
let's ask
Yeah,
the question.
I think we should.
Okay, let's do that. We're heading for section 7, financial items. 7.1, general checks. Be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. General checks number 18867 to 18893, the amount of $42,848.46. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Burick and a seconder. Councillor McGregor. I have checks here. I flipped through them earlier. There wasn't anything that seemed worth going over a bunch, but questions, please. If anyone has a check number, we can pull it up and take a look at the invoice. There's driving heavy duty that relates to a safety. Contact projects was the Benito lift station, the pump that failed there. Dealing with that. Red line was unit 38. Co-op is fuel. The hydro, Valley Water and hydrovac, that relates to a fire call. There's a fire call plus cleaning and holding tanks in Benito and Durban on landfill water. But 2,085 was the fire call that they hauled water to. There's 2 checks that are kind of strangeness. One is to our interim CAO. There was an employee that did not have enough fuel in their vehicle. So on 2 occasions we put fuel in. At one time the CAO accidentally used a personal card instead of the municipal card. So this is reimbursing for that. The receipts are attached. And the other one was a check to me for pizza for the staff party we had that ended up on my personal card. It was a good staff party too, except there was a few too many mushrooms, if you ask me. Be it as it may, some people like mushrooms. Any other questions on the checks? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. In item 7.2, we have payroll checks. Those are attached for council to review in private. Be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. Payroll payments number 0044 to 0056, the amount of $17,025.18. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Zbirun and a seconder.
I saw you put up your hand.
You wiggle?
That's why I didn't know.
It's my mind, if I couldn't be first, I didn't want to play. I'm sorry.
Any questions on what's being presented there? If there's anything specific, we'll have to go take it to in camera, but if there's anything simple, we can try and answer. Everybody done? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. We move to 7.3, the indemnities. These were presented previously, the actual indemnity sheets. What we're presenting tonight is the actual payments and approving the checks for them. We resolve that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments and indemnities for April. Checks number 4479 to 4487 in the amount of $11,500.92. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Kushniryk and a seconder, please. Councillor Burick. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. 7.4 will be here for a little bit. This is budget 2023. The electronic copy is attached, but a paper copy is provided because it's so much easier to read it on paper. So I have to give the staff credit. They have worked harder than we've probably worked them in a while to get this prepared. They've been fixing formulas, fixing a lot of things that weren't quite right in the financial plan. But as of now, it is working. The document, you can change items in it and it auto-calculates and does everything. So the plan is here. There's also a draft budget numbers sheet, which depending on if we make any changes tonight, will have to be updated, of course. But I'll go over it quickly. So the financial plan is presented for 2022 non-LUD properties saw an effective mill rate of 13.038. In 2023, as presented, it would be 13.863. That's a 6.3% increase to mill rate. LUD properties in Benito were at effective 36.355. 2023 would be 21.348, which is a 41.3% decrease. Our total revenue to the municipality actually goes down because of less money being drawn out of reserves. So last year it was $5,855,740. This year proposed $813,820.36, which is a 17.9% decrease in revenues. But again, that's related substantially to not drawing down reserves this year. Raw taxation, which is a better indicator of actual spending, last year was $3,538,230 budgeted. This year, $4,007,906.14, which represents a 13.3% increase. As you can tell, the increase in that is different than the mill rate. There's been increase in some properties assessment from construction and some reassessment that's gone on, which has increased our assessment approximately $30 million over last year. So the mill rate doesn't adjust nearly as quickly then because there's so much more property to assess. Highlights here are the provincial general grant rising to $357,500 from $224,783. Decrease in fire services from over $1 million last year to $184,500 this year. Increase in staff wages due to a new union contract. Increase in fuel due to more maintenance and higher fuel prices. What I mean by more maintenance is more hours going on the machines this year. Increase in equipment repairs due to lack of maintenance. A substantial increase in the drainage amount for the Sarah Lake Road repairs that we're required to do this year. Substantial increase in gravel purchasing. Last year was budgeted $464,000. It was spent about $380,000. This year the budget for purchasing, crushing, and application is $660,000. There's double spending in doctor recruitment because it wasn't paid in 2022, so that will go back to normal spending next year, but there's a bump this year because of that. And then on the equalization of taxes front, rural taxes go to $0 this year, so there are no taxes specific only to rural properties. LUD taxes are only for LUD services, and the at-large taxes contain everything else. So Benito does now pay a share of road graveling and road maintenance with graders and such, which some years they had not been paying. These numbers represent almost entirely the roll-up from the night that we did budgeting here. The differences that I'm aware of is the staff amounts were calculated as we discussed that night they would be. So they were inserted into here based on the actual positions we have and the number of hours. So that was changed. There was, in capital planning, the truck we talked about, there has been placed in there an optional garbage truck for the LUD to come from their reserve. If it doesn't happen, the money will just stay in reserve, but it's there and available if they decide to do something with that. And that is the big changes, I believe. I have to admit, Lisa did all the work on this, so I'm trying to just come through and follow on her coattails because she was the heavy lifter that got it all typed in. She spent quite a bit of time making sure it all balanced. To our knowledge, everything in a previous year column is correct and accurate now. That is bang on what was seen in 2022. And the 2023 is what we budgeted. The next year budget you'll see on some pages, those are auto-generated. So no one's actually looked at those numbers. It's just, in most cases, a 2% increase is what's shown there. So I don't put a lot of time and worry into next year budget because it's not that anyone at this table actually said those were the numbers it was going to be. It's just the computer took a guess at it. Does anyone have questions, comments, concerns, changes we'd like to make tonight?
I just caught, you said doctor recruitment, we have to pay double this year because last year wasn't paid?
Right.
Why wasn't it paid last year?
I can't speak to the exact reasons why, I just know it was not.
Because
But it was budgeted and taxed?
It was budgeted.
Yes.
Where did that money go?
It went into either surplus or just paid for other things. We're showing an operating surplus last year of approximately $14,000. So the doctor recruitment would be around 60,000, not even that much.
46.
46.
46.
So, had we spent it last year, there would have been a small loss last year.
So we're doubling up this year now on it?
Yes.
So next year we'll go back to it?
Next year it'll go back to the 46 as long as it is. And this should be the only year we see that Sarah Lake Road expense as well. And then that'll be freed up.
That's gone to you after this year.
Yeah.
So 1 year.
I certainly don't want to make promises, but you know, next year, there's a couple big items that won't be there that we have to pay for. So there'll be some options to look at what we can do with not having to charge as much for those.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My understanding of the staff, there's probably $20,000 high, just in case, because we just don't know, right? What's going to happen in the second half of the year if we, there's 100 things that could go on that might cost us, so I think we're a little heavy.
So that union deal is settled, like they,
It is not. They're hoping to hear more from the Labour Board this week, and they should be scheduling a vote for the union. Assuming that the union was to be voted out, which is a possibility, council would then have to grapple with what's to pay the staff. You know, certainly we could go to those numbers we had proposed anyway.
yeah.
I think that would be kind of reasonable, but we'll have to discuss it with the staff at that point and see what they want to do. And, you know, there may be some things they're not interested in anymore, some of the fringe benefits.
Yeah.
Maybe some of that comes off, we'll have to.
Talk to the,
But we'll, if the union was to disappear, we would have the opportunity then to discuss directly with the staff and make a plan that works for them. There is, the back pay is built into the wages this year too. So next year, there wouldn't necessarily be that back pay amount. I won't say I grilled Lisa on it, but I did spend a lot of time asking questions, and I was fairly confident that we've captured everything that needs to be in here, so there shouldn't be any surprises at the end of the day.
so what's happening with the fire? Is it, I mean, we agreed to 89 and then it went up to 101 and then 130, is it still climbing or what's going on?
The last we were at with it, we have to have that fire board meeting now, and the fire board can set a final budget, but we're hopeful it'll come down some. Don't know how much, but it should come down some because there won't be the payments towards the new truck.
Yeah.
So that'll
Yeah.
come off, that's 30 or 40,000 right there.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll bring it back down, something more reasonable. Later on in the meeting, we've got the answers for the landfill billing from last year, which you probably previewed already and kind of entertaining. But the landfill, last year actually generated money. We earned $4,000, typically we wouldn't. So in here, we've gone to the more, you know, the typical numbers of what the landfill usually does.
I have another question. Like,
Sure.
I just looked at your expenditure, budgeted expenditure for, it's on page 1, bridges. There's nothing set for bridges. What does that really mean? Nothing.
To date, this year, council hasn't proposed doing any work on bridges.
Like what, we talked, didn't we talk a meeting before that the Brown Vision might need something?
It might, but there's nothing in this budget to do something with it this year.
Okay, so if there's something wrong, what do we do? Close it?
We would have to, I guess, figure out what the issue is. We'd have some amount of bridge reserve, not a lot. There's a little bit of bridge reserve. That can be drawn out at any time. If we have to do something larger than that, we would probably have to go to a public hearing and modify the financial plan.
Okay. How about the other bridges? The Crestview Bridge is fine? They retopped it last year, was it?
They did work on Crestview and on Whitmire Bridge
And
last
how about
year.
the Whitmire Bridge is okay? Okay.
Totally
So it
finished.
Okay.
should be good for some time, I would hope.
And that crossing, how about the Fort Botany crossing, that's closed, right? It's gonna stay closed.
It's very unlikely it could be reopened.
Yeah.
Because it would, you know, at some point we'll have to grapple with the idea that it's going to have to be removed.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be cheap, but it hasn't been contemplated this year at all.
Okay.
And no one's called us about it, so there hasn't, you know, there's no threat to do it by this date, but I think that will come. You know, it could easily be that next year environment's telling us you have to do this or else.
Yeah,
That may be
that's
something we have
expected.
to-
I heard that they won't give a license now for the low crossing anymore, right?
No. And certainly, you know,
So
probably
I
$1 million.
imagine they'll want it moved then, eh?
They'll want it removed, yeah. Especially because somebody's been there, put gravel in it and has made it much worse than it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll want the habitat restored. I would suspect, like, budget-wise, if we can get away with not doing it this year, it's good because we have some other big irons in the fire. But next year, that may be a big iron. I don't know what it'll cost to remove that, but my guess is that it's at least $50,000.
Yeah.
You know, by the time you properly remove it.
Yeah. We'll probably put it back to what it was
Make it
originally,
look like
right?
river again, yeah. And we still have the struggle of a lot of people in that area want a crossing. But could we find a way to afford a crossing there? It would be doubtful.
Yeah.
It would be very, very expensive. At least $1 million, probably $2 million.
Yeah.
And what would we do that, right? There's gonna be, unfortunately, some tough questions on that one to come. Other questions, comments, discussion? It's our intention yet tonight to bring first and second reading to the taxation bylaw. Once second reading is done, we would prefer these numbers are fairly set. Technically speaking, they can still go down, but they cannot go up. As tomorrow night we're going to financial hearing. Once we've presented the plan to the public, we can always decrease taxes, but we cannot increase taxes without going back to the public again. So if there's anything in here you're thinking needs to go up, now is the time. Certainly going down we should talk about tonight too. You know, any changes we should do now rather than tomorrow. But it's very critical we're not increasing anything after we give second reading tonight.
Did you get any response from Manitoba Hydro about those sites that I asked for light on 49, on 218, and on PR 279? Remember?
No, actually, I didn't, and I guess they're having staffing issues as well. And so I'd left it with,
So where would that cost for that be put in?
And we put in street lighting.
Street lighting?
Yeah,
We have street lighting on here, like,
but not for those.
Not for that.
can we add a little, or increase, or just
We
leave
were
it?
probably looking at $10,000 a site
10,000 per site,
would
okay.
be.
So should we increase that, or just,
You're welcome to propose it and we can discuss it. But
I think so, like, and once we get the final.
is it
Numbers.
something we would want to do this year still, or would we leave it until spring?
Well, that's, you just leave it for another year, but I mean, it's been talked about for probably 8 years already, I'd say, if not longer than that.
would they move on it that fast to get it done this year anyways?
Maybe. They'd certainly want the money this year, even if they don't get the work done.
Whatever happened with the museum and their light on the, did that, nothing ever happened with that?
Nothing's, it's all the same batch, nothing's transpired. The museum one's going to need a pole,
Yeah.
but the other one, some of them may need, like they'll need a transformer as well, where the museum has a transformer there. So it'll be a little more pricey, but it can be done, everything can be done, it's just a matter of.
Could those lights be like solar?
It'll still be the same cost.
I think they're next to
installed.
power, there's power lines
think we
right
should
there, I
leave
mean, you
it
should be able to
there.
hook it up to the power line, there's power lines at every intersection.
Well, what if we, eventually the pricing will come in, we'll see what it is. And I suspect that'll be another month or two before we see the pricing. And then we can sort of see where we're at.
Okay,
Not promising that we can fit it in this year, but, you know, if something really good happens someplace else and have some surplus on the line, maybe we could use it up on that. Anything else?
is there, I see that we have paving and patching, just $1,000, is that gonna be enough? Like, I don't know that, River Road, I don't know what that thing's like, that usually breaks up quite a bit. I haven't been on it, but we usually do a lot of work to it.
We haven't
$1,000 won't do very much.
scheduled anything in here for it, really. Last year there was nothing spent on it. have a small paved road reserve as well, don't we?
Yeah, so just looking to see. It doesn't look like it.
No, I don't think there's totals here. There wasn't terribly much in there, but there was a little bit of money in there.
Yeah, yeah, it's not a big dollar amount, but.
Paved road was 8,500. Is that what it is, 8,500? Paved road reserve?
Is that a total bill or is that what?
I think that's this year's contribution, isn't it? Yeah, this year we contributed 8,500, last year was 8,500 went in.
Yeah,
So it'd be at least 17,000 there. So we could pull out of that if we need to do
Okay.
something, if something comes up.
Yeah.
There was one thing in here, throw it out, I don't know if anyone knows the answer, we haven't had much luck with it. When we go on the province's website to prepare the assessments for this, it shows the debentures that are currently registered to Swan Valley West. So there's the two you would expect, but there's also a C11193, Swan Lake Watershed Land Only, expiry in 2024, which the province says is a debenture registered to us, and we should be raising $38,443 for this year. Does anybody have any idea what it is? I've asked Watershed, they don't know it. We continue to search out where it came from. Typically, it would show a borrowing bylaw number, but C11193 is not one of our numbers. We don't have such a bylaw. So we're gonna check further. I just thought if anybody happened to remember something happening, we'll ask the province more about where that came from. If maybe that's been assigned to the wrong municipality or something. It's not the type of bylaw number we use. We're usually 4 digits to 2 digits. It's showing on here right now because in the website it says it has to be, but we'll resolve that hopefully shortly. Certainly if none of us remember, it can't be very current. This must be something that shouldn't have been ours.
No, because you and I have been here for,
Yeah, I don't remember anything like that. It expires in 2024,
no.
so it must have been.
And if you're gonna take it adventure, it's usually a
I know.
fairly long time. but-
Yeah. Okay. Let me know when everybody's done looking through it so we don't also hear
Yeah, I'm okay.
looking at each other, waiting for each other.
So your, the at-large mill rate is gonna be the same for both sides?
So everybody pays the at-large?
Yes.
And the LED pays additional on top of that.
They just pay for the service that they
That's
get.
right.
But everybody pays the same
At-large,
at-large?
everybody pays the same.
That was my question.
And
That's what the way I understood it when I read it, but then I'm not clear out.
it's 13.863.
Yes, I wrote it down, but.
And then there's still, like, there's the Burnside Bridge that goes
Well,
on to
yes,
some
that
properties,
was,
but
that
that's
was not,
separate.
yeah,
And the sewer line goes just to some as well.
yeah.
And even that watershed thing is only for some properties, for a portion of the rural area, which is just why it's so strange, but we'll find out about that tomorrow morning.
I don't.
And we'll aim to remove it, seeing how we don't know what it is, we shouldn't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think everybody's good on that. 7.5 is the first reading of the bylaw. So we haven't done a lot of bylaws here yet this term. So what's provided here is the text. This is the first reading text. So typically we would read this the first time. We don't read the whole bylaw, but the text is provided to council. It's also provided on our website for people that are looking at the agenda. After first reading, we then will go to second reading. We can only read it twice in one evening. So we're going to read it twice tonight. Tomorrow we have the public hearing and a special meeting scheduled to give third reading, so we can take it to the province the next day. If we wanted to make changes with this, we can do that at either of these first two readings, but then again, because of the special nature of the bylaw, at third reading, we can only bring the numbers down, we can't go up. Because by that point, we'll have already held our public hearing. Be it resolved that bylaw number 0102-23, being a bylaw of the Municipality of Swan Valley West for the purpose of levying taxes for the year 2023, shall be introduced and read a first time this 23rd day of May, 2023. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, and someone to second the resolution. Councillor Kushniryk. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? We move to 7.6. Be it resolved that bylaw number 0102-23, being a bylaw of the Municipality of Swan Valley West for the purpose of levying taxes for the year 2023, shall be read a second time this 23rd day of May, 2023. Is there a mover? Councillor Zbirun, seconded by Councillor Kushniryk. Any discussion or changes that we want to look at tonight for this bylaw? This was prepared by our interim CAO. She did ask me to go over it, so I took a run through it too. The numbers looked accurate to me. Everything looked good. Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Tomorrow night when we do third reading, it's a mandatory recorded vote. So tomorrow night you can either vote yes or no. You can also choose to abstain, but if you choose to abstain, you must provide a reason why you've abstained. So if you're thinking of doing that, please make sure you have a reason ready tomorrow night. Let's move to section 8.8.1 mower operators for discussion. So we wanted to seek some views of council tonight for when you would like to recall mower operators. The thought of Public Works Administration was when we're ready to mow a couple days ahead. Is that fine with everybody, or does anyone have different suggestions as to when you want to see them come back?
Do they need time to go over the equipment, or
They'll need a couple days.
that's all? So,
Yeah.
okay.
But if we
I
know
think they
we're
would-
getting close, we'll give them a couple days.
For sure. Councillor
I think they might need more than a couple days. If they find something wrong, it just could take a week or so to get fixed.
The dirt one is gone to the
Yeah.
repair.
The lead hand has been checking them, and so one's actually out for repair right now.
Okay,
So the goal is to have them ready to roll.
okay,
So they'll still need a day or two.
okay.
You know, they usually mow a couple areas just to test them out and get used to it again before they go down the roads. But I don't think we'll need a huge amount of time.
That's good.
Okay, no, the lead hand is going to give them instruction on what to do.
He is.
Okay.
And we will have the tracking in as well, so we'll keep
Tracking.
up to.
Okay,
And you know, the idea is not to nitpick. The idea is just to make sure we don't miss any roads and that we're being somewhat efficient. You know, we don't drive empty the same path every day. We go a different way and mow each day. Just simple stuff.
so is the plan to start end of June? Third week in June?
I guess depending on what the grass does, but probably. I don't think there's any point sooner than that.
No, I say no later either, but it's just that if the grass is small, they can go a little bit faster too, so I mean, just cover the ground. But no, that's good.
And last year, we were barely accomplished one pass. What is our goal this year? Are we looking for one pass? Are we hoping to do a second pass? What do
Let's
we
see how
want?
the weather is. If it's dry, they only need, like, let them go over the whole thing and then see what it looks like.
I'd like really much if once harvest is done, we could do some of the backsides of those ditches.
Yeah.
You know, there's some trees that we could get.
That's what they used to do when I was here. They'd do one pass, second pass, and then the third pass or whatever after harvest, they go on the farm, on the field side, and clean it up.
Okay? Is that enough direction?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. 8.2 Bonito Recreation Grounds. So there's a couple things wrapped up in here. One was Councillor Zbirun was wanting to talk about dirt, and we did once before, but I want to make sure that got captured so it got to Public Works. So I don't think that's done yet, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, so remind me, is there a hole that needs to be filled in? What
Oh,
was it?
yeah, it's I think where the old septic tank from the old school was, it's sunk in, eh?
Okay,
Behind the ball diamonds.
Is that where those spruce trees used to be? By the
No,
Carrie?
no. It's
No.
more, it's actually in left field. If this, if the ball player's playing there, he'd run right into it, like all of a sudden just fall down, eh?
So on the diamond that's
It's, north.
closest to the highway?
It's just north, yeah. No,
No.
north
The one
of
closest
the
to
ring. The diamond by the,
right behind where the Zamboni is,
Yeah.
back in there.
Okay.
yeah,
And
that's
it-
where the hole is, but it's for the diamond to the north of that, straight north.
Okay.
Oh,
That's the diamond that it affects.
Can you make sure to mention that to
mhm.
our lead hand, and we'll get that taken care of?
Because they want it kind of packed and maybe a little bit of grass growing before Canada Day so that
Makes sense.
it's not a muddy hole or something.
The second part of this item, we have a wedding coming up there. So just note to council that we're trying to spruce that up a little bit, make sure the bathroom is working nicely and have everything in good shape, because there'll be a wedding hosted there in
Mid-June.
mid-June. 8.3 road allowance cleanup. There was a letter. Did we find the letter?
I did not.
So we may have to table this. We had a person come forward asking to see if we were interested in hiring some of their family to clean up some road allowances or have some community groups do some work on some of our road allowances for just for cleaning of garbage and such. But unfortunately, the letter has not caught up to us tonight. So we will find that and get it back on the next agenda for council to look at. 8.4, wastewater service charge. So there is one location in Bonito that a few years ago had sewer only installed to take away their wastewater, but they don't use town water. And at the time, an agreement had been reached for $200 a year for that payment. But in searching our records, it appears that hasn't been billed for a few years. So we want to bring it to council first, just make sure council is aware of it. Are you fine with it still being the $200? And do you want to just bill this year, or do you want staff to explore the years that were missed with the person to see if they're interested in paying that as well?
The $200 was set when?
$200 been set about 5-6 years ago.
I'm thinking that was done probably in 17-ish.
2017, roughly, so about 6 years. There isn't, like, some of those we would have a meter on their well, so we knew how much water they were putting in, we just charge them the sewer part of it, but there isn't a meter there.
And
So
is
it
that a
just-
possibility?
Yeah, is this in scope, like, or, I mean, in what, from the water? Is this price right, or?
I have no idea how
What do you
much
think,
water
Brian?
was
Well,
arrived.
I'm wondering why we wouldn't just charge them a minimum, just it's kind of tough, I guess, you don't know what they're using, but as far as years back, I wouldn't go any more than one at most. It's
See,
kind of our
when
fault
it was
too, right?
installed, the car wash was there. So there was higher volume then than what there is now.
Yeah,
So although you might say the price should have increased over the years, the volume has decreased, so I don't know if that evens it out.
okay, so that tells me where it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
They changed ownership in there.
It was written, the agreement was written that it followed the title, not the owner. Like
But,
it was written.
You know, if it was my house, I would be aware, hey, I'm missing this bill, or maybe he wasn't aware he was missing the bill.
Entirely
so-
possible.
In that case, I would say no, just start billing now. It's not his fault. We didn't keep up on it.
True that.
The $200 is probably higher than it would be by tariff. Just roughly guessing what the usage is now with the lower.
Yeah, they
use.
can't be using very much.
I think if we were billing the minimum sewer, it would be a lower amount than 200, so we'd probably be better off staying at 200 because of the
Yeah.
possible maintenance costs there.
To be fair, I would say the bill the previous and this year. I would say that's quite fair.
Okay, if it all works out, you won't hear about it again. If there's an issue, it'll come back.
If we're gonna talk about these water things, I have one more thing I could throw in here that
Okay.
it keeps getting brought to me through Holly. There's 2 properties in Bonito that Pat's aware of that have wells internally, so they have a meter on the well. They pay a minimum charge every billing cycle, so like on our last one, it was $127 or whatever. That never gets used, it's just a well. Is there the feeling of council we should keep billing these people a minimum monthly charge? They're both elderly, these things do not see any meter usage. I would think it's only fair to bill them if there's meter usage. To be honest, it would be nice to credit them back at least the last bill, but it's,
Fill in some details for me. Do they also have town water?
they have town water, they did not want to fill in their wells. So then the town, we put a meter on them then.
But do they actually use any water?
They do not use them, there's no, not that I've ever been aware of. It's probably been a long time
He
since
used
they've
to
used
use
them,
them for gardens. I don't
Long
know if
time.
anymore.
but they don't use them anymore, so there's no usage. But we still charge them a minimum consumption bill on their house and on their well, so they're paying double every month. And as far as not in recent history has either one ever been used. So these people pay double bills.
Why don't we explore, make sure they haven't been used? Because if
Yeah.
you're really not using them, just take the meter off and cap the pipe and,
Mm-hmm.
as well doesn't have to
Yeah.
be filled in. But
Yeah.
if they're not using it anyway, why pay? It seems silly.
Yeah, and they're, you know, I don't know financially, but it's money.
For sure. It's a fairness thing, right? If they're not using it, then why charge them?
Yeah, it's no drain on our sewer. I could see if they were using it, you know, if they're pulling 3,000 gallons every month out of those, it's going through our sewer. But if there's no consumption on the meter,
Yeah, and if they're just using the water to water their gardens,
it's going on the ground.
You know,
Okay, you can take direction back for that.
Yep, and was everybody in agreement on 22 and 23 bills?
Everybody's billing the 2 years for the wastewater that we're talking about, Ursula? Okay, good. Let's go to 8.5, and remember, I am only the messenger. You know it's gonna be good when I start with that. So let's talk about the landfill. This was a question that came up a few meetings back. We've been working around with the town to determine the answer to this. So a couple of things presented. One is the current shared services agreement. So if you get into this, it gives exact details on how we determine how much the landfill should cost. So it says with regard to provision of landfill services provided by the town, we agree to pay a portion of the yearly costs. The yearly costs shall be determined by subtracting the revenue from the landfill activities from the expenses, summing the figure with the landfill closure reserve and any debenture payments, and any landfill capital expenses. Then the cost shall be calculated on the current year's budget and previous year's actual, then it will be corrected afterwards. And it goes on to say the town conducts a quarterly landfill usage survey 2 weeks in the fall and 2 weeks in the spring, which is not quarterly. That would be twice a year. The survey collects the following data: weight of refuse brought to the landfill and municipality of origin. Based on weight, the combined results from the budget year of this survey are used to apportion the net yearly landfill costs to the municipality. All costs shall be initially calculated based on the current year's budget amounts, previous actual usage. The actual amounts and uses will be calculated year end, invoiced or credit for the difference. So I also have here landfill financial calculations. So 2022 was a strange year. The town of Swan River took in a bunch of contaminated soil at the landfill to the tune of close to $500,000 of contaminated soil. Most of it came from Saskatchewan, but there was also some contaminated soil from the town of Swan River from some sites there. So the town, overall, I should say, the landfill profited $328,000 last year. The Swan Valley West share of that was said to be $4,700, which at our table we took some exception to and said that seems very low, because they said that the town's share was $90,000 and others' share was $233,000. So I did spend some time asking some questions about who is other and where did the money go. So it took several emails, and I maybe upset their CAO a little bit because it kind of felt like it was unwrapping an onion, because you'd ask a question and get an answer, but it wasn't quite the full answer yet. So after a series of emails, what has been explained to me is that during negotiations, there's a reason I'm showing you the agreement, because it's not in writing in the agreement. Swan Valley West is said to have proclaimed that the town, Swan Valley West and other would be measured, and that we would pay the Swan Valley West share, but that we would not pay a share of the other. The town was responsible for that, which is contrary to what I would have thought we would do, because I would think that whatever it costs to run, the two of us split those costs based on how much garbage we each put in. The town's claim is that each year that this has been happening, when there's an other amount, the town pays all of the other. And we only pay the Swan Valley West share, and they pay basically both. So because this particular year saw all this contaminated soil from outside the area, other, that the town retained the $233,000 as theirs, because we've never paid towards other, so we shouldn't get the benefit of other. So the question becomes, what kind of difference is it? And I guess the second part is, the agreement clearly says we only measure 2 weeks spring and 2 weeks fall. The town measured 2 weeks in the summer as well. It's a bonus. Those happened to be 2 weeks when the material was coming from Saskatchewan and when contaminated soil was coming from Swan River. They assure me those 2 weeks were randomly selected, and they were not in any way selected to be 2 weeks when there was a substantial amount of material coming from someplace else. Their assurance. I may have upset them when I said I didn't believe them. Had they only measured spring and fall, like the contract says they should, there would have been a substantial difference in the amount of material classed as other, and we would have instead received $58,000 as our share of the profit, which would be $53,000 more than we got. But I also calculated it different ways. So if, as I thought it worked, we split the other between us, if that had been the case, we would have received $16,000, $11,500 more than we did get. I also calculated if we only measured spring and fall and split the material, the other between us, we would have received $38,000, about $33,800 more than we did. So in all those various calculation scenarios, we would have received more, sometimes a little more, but in some calculations, substantially more. And I wasn't there for those negotiations. I can only go by what's written down, and certainly their version of how it happened is not what was written down, but is their belief in how negotiations went. They claim as well that Swan Valley West asked for additional weeks of measurement, but that wasn't written in the contract. But then they provided it, and it cost us a lot of money when they provided it. So I don't really have a recommendation, other than I promised I would explain what their explanation is, and I've done that now, and I'll duck. I did say to their CAO that I would bring it to our council and explain his answers, which I've done, and that I would also present the alternate calculations that show what we would have got if it had been done the other ways. So that's all presented tonight for council, and it's on the agenda for anyone in the public that wants to take a look at it. Any questions about that? Does anyone want any further action on this file? Or are you content to just leave it with that explanation?
Moving forward, I think we should be counting our own. When they have their counter out there, let's put ours out there at the same time.
I certainly wonder, if they tell us it's a manual process to count. And so when you cross the scale, you are declaring where you're from.
But where is that coming from too? If you're a contractor and you're bringing that in, you're working on houses in Swan, you cross the line, yeah, you're from Swan Valley West, you're a contractor, that's what they're counting it as, and that's what I want to know.
Even myself, because
More.
I have a business in Swan River, so when I take
Exactly.
garbage, are they counting me as Swan Valley West, or are they counting me as Town of Swan River?
Yeah, so I think we should also have someone, when they tell us when they're counting, that's when we have someone there as well.
I can further share that it was indicated to me that the landfill, the entire operation is up for review, and that there may be a proposal coming forward for it to no longer be contracted, instead be a government-run service. And I suggested if that was the case, Swan Valley West would be interested in discussing the operating it ourselves with our staff there, because as I explained to the town, we have substantial knowledge on how to run landfills that they do not. So it may be something that would be beneficial for us to just simply take over and run for them, and then send them a bill each year for their share of what we say they owe.
Yeah.
So,
I just don't think it was done, in my personal opinion, in good faith. When we paid our shared services bill that they sent us, there was some disagreement at the table. We voted to pay it because what was written on that document said we pay it. What's written in this document says spring and fall. We can all go back and in any interaction say, but so-and-so said we do this, and there's no paper trail of it. It just seems like things are, you know, in the view of being good neighbors and getting along, we should have done it according to what was written. And this wasn't done according to what was written.
No.
so you wanting action, or are you just making a comment?
I personally think they should review it.
Yeah, I think they should review it as well.
It's not what's written.
So would it be the will of council for me to send a letter over asking them to review it?
Mm-hmm. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay. I will send such a letter, we'll get it drafted up and get it sent over there, and I'll probably include those calculations just with our thoughts about this is what the agreement says and this is what the numbers would have been if we stuck to the agreement.
And tell them we're leaning towards spring and fall only.
they always tell us to honor what's written down.
Well, sure.
And perhaps it should always be honored. Let's move to 8.6, beaver control. So there's not a resolution here yet, but there might be one. There is no provincial beaver program this year, so we do have some amounts budgeted. We're wanting to make sure that it doesn't get away from us and we just start murdering beavers everywhere. I mean, eradicating problems. Would it be suitable? Like, I think the best case scenario is the Public Works kind of says if we have a problem beaver that's causing an issue with a pipe, they have someone trap it. Is that kind of the view of council, that that's how we'll do it this year? We'll do some trapping when needed, but we'll be very clear on it only being if it's affecting our infrastructure.
Okay,
How
so,
long would it take?
like, people have been phoning me already, you know, beaver,
We
what I got,
we
so.
put some in, we put some in the budget for that.
Typically would pay $50 the other years, I think.
Yeah.
Is that suitable for this year?
But that's not, you're just not,
No, well,
those
it's,
people can't just bring them in
No,
like they
they have
used
to be
to.
registered
That's-
or whatever, right?
well, and specifically, we have to approve the location, right? Because it's not, if the program is not envisioned to help farmers that have a
No.
farm problem, it's envisioned for if we're going to wash a road out.
Yeah,
And we have 2 or 3 pipes right now that have beaver problems.
Yeah.
And so those beavers have to go because it's cheaper to get rid of the beaver than it is to fix the pipe every month. But it certainly would only be for if it's impacting one of our roads. Because there is no provincial funding for it.
that would be the question if somebody phoned me that wanted to know what the beaver problem. That only unless the beaver's impacting the road, then they would call you, right?
Well, so I too want clarification because we have them coming in here. So would this be correct to say that it would be at the discretion of the lead hand and it would be 2 approved trappers? And they would be paid at $50?
Yeah.
Is that?
Is there
everybody's
many
understanding?
trappers that are
Well,
registered?
there's trappers that have habitually trapped for the municipality in the past.
Okay, and they're still around, or are they?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
So
they're
that
not
sort of be-
approved to do it, so.
Okay?
Well, they're not approved, they haven't been asked to do it right now, so, but before, you're
No,
right,
but I'm
that's how it went,
saying-
yeah.
So at the discretion of the lead hand, he needs a trapper in this area, that would be that trapper, in that area it would be that trapper, because it seems that there are trappers for various areas within the municipality, so if they've done it before, would we want to be using the same ones again? I guess is what I'm asking.
It's kind of tough too, like $50, I don't know if that's a lot of money or what for a beaver.
Well, cause we used to pay 25 and then the provincial funding topped it up to 50.
Yeah.
That's how it went.
I mean, if you get a trapper driving 20 miles to a site, or 15 miles to a site, nothing, go again, nothing. Third time he gets 1 beaver. For $50, does it make us pay for him? Or- I don't know which other way you do it, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, it's just $50 a beaver. If you
Yeah.
make 3 trips to find that beaver. You know, like,
He used to work on volume before, right?
yeah, like, I mean, if
Go
you, if you
bunch.
went on a trip and got, say, 5 beaver or something, like, oh, that's different, but I mean, 2 or 3, but I mean, if you go check your traps, nothing this time, go tomorrow, nothing, third day, well, you got 1, 50. I'm just saying, is that the best way to do it, or are you gonna find people to do that for that price, like, I don't know. Like did you pass that one on this morning that I texted you about, Ridge Road? Light plug?
I have a list, but
Oh.
this is why I'm needing an answer
Oh.
to how council wants us to deal with them, right?
So it's the $50 question.
Yeah,
Do we
that's
say
what
$50 or do we change that? We were 25, the province provided the other 25, so it's already costing us double per beaver to go to 50. Do we want to go higher?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, I mean, would it be better to, instead of per beaver, mileage and hourly rate, or no?
Oh,
No.
that could be hundreds of dollars per beaver.
I know, I'm just saying, like, I mean, your pound keeper, like, I mean, you have a pound keeper, you pay him by the hour, by the miles. You don't pay him by the cash, do you?
True, but
So I'm just saying, like, will you find somebody to do it for that price?
I guess if we don't, we'll have to revisit it.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what we can do.
Yeah,
If you, like you say, if you have volume, well, that's different, but.
volume or, yeah, if we revisit it, you look at it like something of, this is how much we're paying per season, you're gonna take care of all the beavers we call for.
Something like that.
You just hire a beaver guy.
Yeah.
So I think we'll bring forward a
Never
resolution
mind.
so we solidify this into our minds, rather than just being a bunch of direction. Whereas the province of Manitoba is not providing funds to control the beaver population in 2023, be it resolved that the municipality of Swan Valley West will conduct its own beaver control program exclusive to protecting municipal roads, and that beaver control be at the discretion of the lead hand. Be it further resolved that when approved, up to $50 per beaver be paid with suitable proof of population control. Is there a mover? Councillor Zbirun, and someone to second the resolution? Councillor Burick. Any discussion on the resolution?
Just that we'll look into it if it doesn't work.
If it becomes a problem, we'll
Yeah.
have to come back to
Yeah,
council
okay.
and see what we can come
Okay.
up with. Anything else? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Let's move to 8.7, Swan Valley Airport Commission. Now this isn't necessarily for resolution tonight, it's more information. So the first file provides the budget for the Airport Commission this year. Councillor Neely was unable to attend the meeting this last time, so he asked me to attend in his place. So Councillor Burick and I were at the Airport Commission meeting. So here you can see the budget for 2020, 21, 22, and 23. They have just finishing up now the card lock at the airport, so that will finally be finished and ready for folks, which will stop them from paying the call-out fees for employees to come and do the things. The card lock system is budgeted to be $75,000 this year. Those call-outs were a lot less, a couple $1,000s a year usually in call-outs. In any case, the budget was passed by the committee, and then some time was spent discussing the favorite topic of the Airport Commission, which is, should it be assessment-based or population-based or 50-50? So some more time was spent on it, and I had perhaps had enough. So I proposed a resolution that the Airport Commission take no further actions to attempt to change the terms of the agreement between municipalities and leave such to the municipalities to decide. That was eventually carried by the Commission. So what this means is the Airport Commission will no longer be advocating at G8 meetings or directly to councils to change how it's paid for. If councils feel strongly about that, and some do, it will be up to the councils to come up with a new plan so we stop taking time at those Airport Commission meetings. The second thing is, I think, perhaps the most important part. It's the actual valuations of what would change. So in population versus assessment, towards the bottom, we show if it was all population, if it was all assessment, or if it was the proposed 50-50 share. For Swan Valley West, as all assessment is 41,000, we'll call it. If we went to the 50-50 share, it'd be 36,000. So we would have saved $4,800 a year. The town of Swan River would pay $7,200 more. Minitonas-Bowsman would save almost $4,000. And Mountain would pay an extra $1,500. So this certainly formed part of the discussion that night, was that the numbers were small enough that it was thought it just wasn't worth putting a bunch more time into this when we're fighting over a few $1,000s. And so the view of the members of the commission was that it's over. We'll leave it as assessment for now, and if the councils feel strongly, it's up to the councils to deal with it. Minitonas-Bowsman indicated that they would be withdrawing their resolution to leave the Airport Commission. They're withdrawing their resolution. They had a resolution last year that if it did not change from assessment to 50-50, they would leave the Airport Commission in its entirety. That will be withdrawn. They will be staying in, and they will be doing it at assessment for now. They felt, as I did, that the numbers were small enough it didn't warrant a bunch of continual goings on that have been happening there for a few years. But certainly it's always open for councils if we felt strongly, or Minitonas did, but it would be for the councils to negotiate between the Reeves or whatever, some method other than sending it to the Airport Commission, because they felt they just weren't accomplishing anything anymore. Any questions on that? We'll move on to 8.8, The Northwest Regional Library, we have 3 reps to that board. One is Councillor McGregor. We also had Mrs. Minish and Mrs. Pulla as representatives to the board. Mrs. Minish unfortunately resigned a few days ago. That was first announced in the newspaper, and then subsequent to that was eventually announced to the library board. And earlier tonight, a copy of the resignation finally made its way here, which unfortunately probably should have come here first because we're the board that appoints her. But in any case, it's here now. So we have a vacancy on the board of the Northwest Regional Library, and we should be filling that tonight. We've discussed this previously as a council, that we would appoint someone on an interim basis from our council with an eye to, once the library is stabilized in a few months, that councillor leaving the board, and again advertising for a member of the public that would like to be assigned to the board. I can also provide in-camera information on what the town of Swan River has decided to do, but I can assure you at this point that their decision does not require us to appoint more than one person tonight. So we only need to fill the vacancy that is currently on the board. We had discussed that there was 2 of us that were being voluntold, which was Councillor Burick and myself. As council needs to decide which of us is being voluntold tonight and put on the committee so we don't leave a vacancy there. Who wants to suggest?
I nominate you. Is that what the process we're going through, or what?
Maybe we should hear from the other councillors first.
This is a volunteer position.
It is a volunteer position. And it should be short term. My guess, 6 months. I will be reappointing. I would think, like we usually review committee appointments at the end of December, beginning of January. My hope would be we're putting a member of the public back at that time. We'll have some time. Typically we would advertise for people that are interested. We'd take applications, we'd kind of vet them a little bit, and we'd choose a member of the public to be on the board.
So who's more interested?
Bill is just, or Reeve is just anxious to get in.
I believe that's documented quite well in the letter of resignation we received. Are you interested in it, Councillor?
No.
Not at all.
No.
What if I bought you a pizza?
No.
No, I don't think you can do that.
Probably not.
What if we declare June 1st Valentine's Day in Swan Valley West?
Is anybody else interested in joining the committee?
No, you go right.
All right, so we have Councillor Burick suggested that we'll appoint me temporarily.
Yes.
Let's remember the temporarily part, please.
Well, you said 6 to 8 months.
1 or 2 other things on my plate lately that would be nice to not be there forever, but certainly I will learn from Councillor McGregor, who can show me the ropes of how to successfully run a library. Be it resolved that the Council of Municipality of Swan Valley West appoint Bill Gade to the Northwest Regional Library Board on an interim basis until a new public rep is appointed. There's a remover for that. Councillor Burick, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Kushniryk. I'll talk to you later. Any further discussion of the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Correspondence. For whatever reason, committee reports in there. We'll do correspondence first. 9-2 FCM Board of Directors. So we have a notice here from Joe Massey. Many of us know Joe. He was with the AMM for many years. He's just looking for support at the FCM. 9-3 is a letter of request. The actual letter here has, we erred on the side of caution, didn't publish a letter because it appeared to have some sort of personal information that we weren't sure if it was cleared. Certainly I'll speak to the topic of it. It's from a business that is indicating they are interested in expansion in the municipality of Swan Valley West. They're an existing business. They say they would look at doubling their capacity and also doubling the amount of employment they have. They would like to discuss with us if we would be willing to look at a tax incentive program for them. I attached here the Swan River Incentive Program. That's what the town does. so you can kind of take a peek at that. In a nutshell, the town provides for a 1 to 2 year forgiveness on taxes, depending on the exact amount of assessment. Typically, it's anywhere between 50% of municipal taxes and 100% of the new or expanded area. So I looked at the valuation of this business. They would probably fall in the CB structure class of the town's one, which would be 100% in year 1 and 50% of municipal taxes in year 2. If the value was higher, the town would go to 75%. As the value approaches $750,000, they go to 100% both years. We would have to bring a bylaw to do this. It can't be done by resolution. We would have to establish a bylaw, and certainly we could look to copy the town one quite a lot. But we need some direction from council if you're interested in doing this. The business wants direction from us if we're willing to consider it. And then obviously we would have to get the bylaw prepared and bring it to council if we did want to pursue it. We'll go around the table maybe just for some thoughts. Certainly we're looking at this one business, but if we did this, it would apply to any business that's expanding, right? Because the bylaw would apply to all commercial, for example, or commercial industrial. We would have to choose the scope there. It would have to be something that was available to everybody. We would publish it, and anyone that was looking at doing development may well take us up on it. Councillor McGregor, your thoughts?
Yeah. You do it for one, you do it for all.
Not
Hey. I don't really have a lot to say on this one now.
We'll come back to you. Councillor
Yeah,
Zbirun.
yeah.
I think we should do something. It's a business, we don't have too many businesses in Benito or in the Swan Valley West.
Well, hopefully more to come, right?
Yeah,
If we
exactly.
could-
If we
could
can give
use it
some
to
incentive,
attract.
to, I don't know exactly what, but I mean, we need to talk that over it, but I mean, I think we should do something. I think.
Councillor Burick.
I feel the same as Councillor Zbirun there, we should support in some way, but where,
Exactly what is.
exactly what, we'd have to more or less look into it, or need more information maybe, I don't know. But we should support a bit our own business in our community,
Councillor
and in
Blosha.
Benito.
Well, I'm just reading over the Swan River one, and I think it's quite fair, actually. And if they're willing to develop like that in our municipality, yes, we should try to do something like what the town of Swan River is doing. It's not like every day there's going to be a big business built, so it's. But and it's only 2 years. It's a 2-year relief. It's not after the 2 years is over, you pay your normal tax. So.
And what typically happens to the town one, because you rarely do you start and finish construction on the 1st of January.
Yeah.
So there's usually some portion of a year, and that is paid, and then it's actually year 2 and 3 where the incentive applies, so that, you know, that small portion is paid in its entirety. You know, it's the first two full years. Councillor Kushniryk.
I'm totally for it. It supports growth, and what you would be giving the benefit on is taxes we aren't accustomed to getting anyway. So if it spurs them to build here rather than somewhere else, so we just put off collecting the taxes for a year, 2 or 3 or whatever we decide upon.
And I mean, if he's gonna expand, how many more jobs is that gonna be? You know,
Yep.
gonna bring more people in or keep people here, if nothing else, eh?
Okay, do you want?
I agree with the rest of the councillors. I think anything we can do to attract, I think we need to do it.
So would it be fair then if we tell the business that council intends to do something, the finer details of which we'll work out shortly, and we'll bring back a bylaw for council's review, very similar to what we see in the town of Swan River. We'll probably copy it, just a couple small changes. I would suggest we'll have the commercial industrial portion of it. I'm not sure if we would do the individual houses part, but maybe we would want to look at the multi-unit development part. Would we leave that in?
The multi-unit
buildings.
part, but not
Not
single
individuals.
dwellings,
I don't
no.
think that
I've
is-
seen other towns do individual too. I mean, if I'm looking at building a house here versus Minitonas and I get a 2-year tax break here, and that's my only deciding factor, I'd rather the house be here. We don't have much other incentive on a personal level that way. I mean, we're talking how many houses have been built here in Swan Valley West in the last year.
Not very many.
We're not looking at a huge break, and again, it might spur bringing that future revenue.
What's the thoughts?
That is a thought, you know. It might, like you say, it might sway the difference between building a house and not building a house here, right?
I don't know if there's a line though that you would draw. It's not gonna apply if I put a new shop up in my yard, right? If I decide I want a garage, I'm not gonna get a tax break on my garage.
No.
It's only on a house.
That's kind of residential housing.
It
Yeah.
has to be new.
New, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you
Not
can't be
just
just
renovated,
moving
it
the
has
house.
to-
No, no.
Okay, so we'll bring back the bylaw, very similar to what the town has done. If you have further thoughts on it, could you share those before the next meeting? So, you know, that can be worked in a little bit rather than have to make a bunch of changes on the fly in the meeting, but we will speak to the business and we will also start work on the bylaw. Let us go to committee reports and communications. We will start, it was actually kind of fun having Councillor McGregor go first, so we'll start with him again.
We, had a library board meeting, obviously. Just 2 resignations, one was from Nancy Morton, and the other was, obviously, from Michelle Minish. There was a couple things that, one question was brought up that I would like to, Benito Library needs to do a structural inspection. I believe that would be the building inspector that would do this.
So no,
Okay.
their concern is that there's a crack in the drywall. And so the committee said, oh, we better have the building structurally engineered and inspected.
You usually do get cracks in drywalls.
We're built on
Yeah,
sand.
we all.
It didn't seem like, I listened to it for a while of their concerns and they wanted to hire a structural engineer to go and check the building to make sure it wasn't about to collapse, but I practically guarantee you the building is not about to collapse. But certainly the building inspector would not be able to do that for them. They would have to hire an engineer and it'd be somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 cost.
Don't think it's in their budget at this point in time.
And the crack has been there for some time.
You just groove it out, replaster it, repaint it, never know what's there.
It's a building that was moved.
They
Like, I
moved
don't
it,
think
yeah.
it's a huge surprise that it would crack.
Yeah.
But I haven't gone to see the crack myself. I will probably do that. If blessed me with the assignment.
Could hold your first meeting in that, it's no Benito Library.
One other thing that, the last time I talked to council about some of the situation with the library, and it was brought up about why haven't we seen some of the financials, like the visa statements. We did not accept our financial statements because the visa statements still weren't presented. So I'm still waiting on those. And I think that's pretty much it. On a happier note, the McHappy Day fundraising raised $2,500.
And is that for their summer programming?
Yeah,
Or kids programming,
yeah,
sorry?
kids programs, some stuff, yeah. So, and that's pretty much it to report there so far. We have another meeting coming up for presentation of the financial audit next Monday. So, I guess I'll see you there.
I don't know if you know the answer, but have they received any other money? Are they able to continue operating? What's happening with the bank account?
That's all I know so far, so.
Okay. Anything else to report?
That's all I have to report here.
All right, Councillor Zbirun.
Got nothing for you this evening.
Councillor Burick.
I just attended two committees. One was the Airport Commission, and you spoke on some of the highlights on that, and the Library Board, we all attended as a committee. And then we gathered here after the meeting for a short meeting, and then we were just wait. Yeah, I think you're supposed to meet with the mayor or something about
I can share those.
sharing that in camera, okay. So, yeah, and as far as human communications, we started graveling, I think already, because Ward 6, I think 2 days they've been going. Where's the gravel coming from?
So,
Do we, I mean, I never looked into it because I just saw the gravel today.
so
I
it
don't-
depends exactly where it is.
Pardon?
So it depends where it is.
Yeah,
I believe they're now crushing in Big Woody, so some of the gravel will be coming out of there. Some of the gravel, like the 216 gravel, came from west, the name's escaping me, where we had a stockpile.
West.
I'm gonna go,
Kings.
Kingsman?
some of it came from over there.
Well, I didn't see the gravel on 216, I think that was good, but 224, it's just sand. I don't know, they must sift it through their crusher. I don't think it hits any stones. Like, it's sand. That's no quality gravel.
There's some crappy gravel.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know why, I think we should stop it.
But we own that gravel, right? So that's what, the really bad stuff was sitting in a pile that we had to use to get rid of it. So from what I understood from Mr. Bob, he was putting it on some less traveled roads up in.
These are main roads. 224, that's a main, it's a hollow. And it's poor, very poor. Like, I mean, there's no rocks in it. Like, I didn't get out and look at it, but I could see from the truck that, I mean, it's just sand like going to the beach. So, I mean, that's not good quality stuff.
No.
And I had one ratepayer, he called me the other day, he put calcium on his road, and the next day the grader pushed it off.
Did he call and tell us that he was doing it?
So he wants to know if we supply with the 6 bags of calcium again. So, I mean, I said I'd bring it to council.
Like, we had the advertisement for anyone that did that to call and tell us before, so we didn't break it off.
Yeah, well, he just put it on, and the next day the grader pushed it on. So he went and bought 6 more bags of calcium, put it on. So what do I tell him?
He really needs to tell us ahead of time so the grader operators don't push it off. And he needs to mark it with the flags.
Yeah, well, I understand that, yeah, but,
Oh.
and, the gravel was the big thing. That's it for now.
Councillor Blosha.
I didn't have any committee meetings, but we, like I said, I attended the library meeting and a special meeting as well, and yeah, that was it right now.
Councillor Kushniryk.
Just the LED meeting, not a whole lot there, a little discussion on recycle still, it's, you've probably noted, it's filling still quickly and overflowing. The guys did clean it up today and haul some out to the landfill to get it off the ground because it was so windy. They were discussing maybe the potential of a community garden next year, some simple things like that. Nothing too in-depth though.
Do we look at another bin there or what?
I don't, we're using more of those bins than I thought we would. I don't know if I'd put another one there or went over by the rink if we're gonna do one.
Or just, yeah, that's what I meant, just
Yeah.
another bin, I mean, not actually there or
It's-
whatever, but.
From what I'm seeing, it's looking like we would fill it, but I don't know if there's been any single person putting a big amount that's not normal or.
Well, one problem is that there's garbage being put in there. Another problem is that OSS is not emptying them on schedule. They were
Well-
supposed to have been emptied on Friday.
Yeah, and they definitely were not, and now like today it's raining and the bins are
Yeah,
open,
yeah.
so that's all garbage now.
So I don't know that putting another container there is a good solution.
Yeah, there should be question why they're not being emptied
Yeah, if they're
not
on
supposed to,
schedule,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's not,
If they're not
That's
going
not
to
a
empty them
fault.
when they should provide a free bin to pick up this extra. Or
yeah,
we should just say, we just don't want your service if you can,
Yeah.
because it's a mess.
True.
agreed.
I will look into that a little more. Well, I will. Staff will. See if we did look into stuff.
Team.
I love volunteering them. Forgive me, I'm just gonna go to my phone. So I've been, doing a bit of stuff. One notable thing, I spent the afternoon over at the high school, doing physician and medical professional recruitment. So we had Prairie Mountain Health had a job fair. So there's probably 12 at least, different setups there, so kids could try out being a paramedic, they could try cleaning the equipment, they could try all sorts of stuff. Reeve, Byron, Councillor White and myself attended. So we spoke to the kids and told them about what we could do for them with paying for some of their schooling and helping them out. I actually had two that were very interested in being physician assistants and such, that said that it would make a difference to them if we helped them out a little bit and had a return for servicing. So we're quite happy to see some results from that. We also talked to the schoolers a little bit when we were there about doing another event where we more specifically speak to each student in grade 9 and grade 10 about it, because our feeling is that there's probably from year to year someone there that might be willing to be a physician that, you know, for whatever situation they find themselves in, it's tough to go to school for 7 years. And so we wanted to make sure that, you know, at the point at which they're making those career choices in grade 9 and grade 10, we're there telling them we would give them $75,000 if they want to be a doctor and practice here, because we think that might change some of their minds. Kids that would maybe otherwise not go into being a doctor might do it. So we're going to keep looking into that, but we set up the display. It went really well, actually. Lots of the kids who were interested came over to see what we're doing. So that was certainly one of the highlights of the last couple of weeks. We did have a staff meeting here that I chaired back on the 16th of May. We were introducing the new lead hand. We had every single employee here, even the office staff. We had some pizza. We met, we talked. It was a good meeting. You know, the staff were really coming together well. I was happy to see how they were doing. We took the list of complaints as we always do when we have a staff meeting, but the list was getting shorter than it was last time. So it's kind of nice to see, you know, and this time it was very, you know, about fixing plows and about doing things that will move us forward. It wasn't just complaining for the fun of it, which was nice. I did attend settlement services on Monday the 15th of May. So settlement services is quickly becoming a victim of its success. Originally it was just for Swan River, but then it began providing service in the Paw with some satellite service in Flin Flon. They have now been awarded a contract for Thompson as well, which makes the Swan River Settlement Services one of only two organizations in Manitoba that's providing settlement services outside of their own original area. The other one's from down in Winkler. They're looking at some changes to how their board works. Right now, the board has been very heavy with Swan River people. There's about 10 people on the board from Swan River. Basically, if you're at all interested, you're a board member. Then there's some more people on the board from the PAW, and it's becoming quickly unruly if there's also going to be some from Thompson. So they're likely going to a scenario where they will instead have steering committees in each community, and then from those steering committees there'll be a board, much like Watershed does. There's a main board of Watershed, and then the more district boards. So settlement services is going through that process. We'll see how that turns out. My recommendation to them was that there be a spot on the main board for their members, but perhaps not two spots. So, you know, whether the town or us, we would decide together and contribute one person, because we don't necessarily provide the same benefit to them as many of those other board members that are more hands-on. We're more of a governance kind of look. Settlement Services will be attending the G8 meeting, which is coming up to make a presentation about why all municipalities should be supporting them. There was a special meeting, some Chamber Airport Commission, and that takes me back to our previous meeting. There are a couple of things we haven't covered off yet that we should have. One is Councillor Kushniryk has been working on food plans for the G8 meeting. It looks like we will be hosting it at the new chalet at the ski hill, which presents some challenges for the meal. So he has found an organization, business, whatever you would like to call it, that can provide on-site meal service from a trailer, so they don't need to use the chalet, which maybe the kitchen isn't completely ready, but the meeting space is. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
How much can I really say? It's
Um,
kind of touchy.
That it's going to cost some money.
We're looking at an average of $30 a head, because it won't be a traditional buffet like we had the last one where you have a few options. Maybe like your starches and dessert and salads will be set, but for your protein, for your meat, you'll get to order off the menu, so that makes it a little harder for them to prep. But yeah, I don't really want to say.
No, I know what you're saying.
Does anybody have issue with us doing that because of this kind of special location we're in?
As long as you get your numbers and tell like the other councils, like if you're not going to be there and you say you're going to be there, your council will be charged for that.
Isn't that the way it always was? It's what it
Used to be, but it was never specified. Like what was the date on that?
The
12th.
12th, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so just get the numbers concreted and then you kind of know.
Okay. So we'll,
That's how it used to be.
Yeah.
so let Mr. Kushniryk's skilled hands to make sure it happens.
How far in advance does he need numbers?
That I don't
Did it
know.
say?
I had guessed it in the 30 to 40 people range. I didn't know if we were going to include the Thunder Hill people and feed them as well as a.
There'll be one or two of them.
Yeah, there won't be many, but
Because there's
they're
going to be a
there.
presentation that night about the magic carpet.
okay.
The RCMP is coming to do a presentation, so there might be one or two RCMP members we have to feed. They might come after the meal though.
Yeah,
They might not be there for the meal. We'll feel that out.
but I just guessed 30 to 40 was safe. I think.
But I'm just saying, if you're saying 40 and we have to pay them for 40 and 30 show up, that's not good.
Ready for
Yeah,
discussion?
Do you know what I mean?
I haven't to be.
Yeah,
Because it's happened before.
I can imagine.
I meant,
Yeah.
I was supposed to.
Yes.
Anyway,
Okay, is there anything else for Communications Committee reports before we move on? Okay, that road, do you want that now or do you want that in camera?
No, it can go now, I think.
Okay, let's do that. Councillor Zbirun is passing out a picture of the road.
Map of the,
you talked about
oh, secret, got one too many here. No, I'm just going by what I was told. But see how the road curves there?
Mhm.
And the road actually curves underneath the hydro lines a little bit. So if he was to follow that with his house, he wouldn't get through there. So that the bush on the opposite side has to be taken away. And I think that's the only stretch. He said to the south of this, he said there's a couple places too where the trees are overhanging onto the road. I mean, if you're gonna be there doing that, just take a few of those ones out. But he said this is the main spot there. He said it's only about,
Right here?
yeah. It's only about, what did he say, 31 feet across and he needs 34. And then whatever, he has to stay away from the hydro lines.
But how long, you say it's not long, but last one we heard it was over a mile and a half.
No, it's just whatever this, from what I understand, he told me it's just this curve in the road.
So does the pole get in the way or just the hydro line? Is he thinking he'll cut under the lines?
No, the hydro line's on the other side of the,
It's the poles, I think.
it's the poles and everything that are,
He told me that it was the line.
or the lines.
headline.
Yeah, the headlines are over top of the road, eh?
That,
Like if he was to follow the road, part of the house would go underneath the hydro lines.
I'm trying to picture this. This would be,
Because you looked at
the
it.
curve goes to this way if I remember right.
I never went out there and took a look. I thought, well,
if you're going
this is going
south to north,
north, right?
To the right.
This is going north?
Yes. And the hydro line is on the east side.
On the east side, yeah.
yes.
So it's on the side where the curve is the biggest, eh? And he said the hydro line runs straight there, so that the road kind of goes like this underneath the hydro lines.
I thought the road went away from the hydro line.
It curves both ways. There's two curves there. One curves away and one curves back.
And I don't know how high that hydro line is.
Well,
And
the
I don't know
hydro
what-
will lift the line,
Hydro
right?
lift.
They'll just lift it. When you're going down the highway, they come lift the line on the
Exactly,
way.
they do it all the way.
Well, then it shouldn't be a problem.
That's what I would think.
You gotta pay so much per line,
Well,
but
that's the way.
it's gonna cost either way, right?
Yeah.
From what I understood of it, he had the mover out there. They looked at this and said specifically some of these trees have to move.
Mm-hmm. That's what he told me.
So do we know where the trees are then? Are they ours or his? Or whoever's, you know?
I'm finding that I get more and more confused the more we look at this. Maybe, could we have somebody go out there with them and some tape and flag the trees? So we're clear
Yeah.
on which trees need to
Yeah.
go. Because that would be our next
Or,
step.
or make sure that the hydro line can't be lifted, because if the hydro line can be lifted, then they don't have to,
Okay,
Would
you know,
be able
the
to
less.
yeah,
just take some of the orange flagging tape if we don't have somebody with that, some of those.
Yeah.
Just flag whatever needs to be.
Cause I
take it
think
out.
that down
Yeah.
in this area, that, of the curve,
Pardon me?
that down in this specific area
Yeah.
of the curve, there isn't a lot of big trees, it's a lot of brush. So if there are some trees, I don't think that it can be many, but I think Bill's suggestion is
Go take a look.
the thing to do.
That's fine.
I've been up there a couple times and looked
Yeah.
at it. And from what we've measured, the house should fit. But I didn't take into consideration the line.
But-
And now they're saying if the line can be lifted, then
Cause they, well, like, you see them coming down the highway,
Oh,
when
they
they're
always
setting their
do.
lifting
Oh, they're
lines all the
lifting
way
lines
they
in,
go.
yeah.
Every time there's a
So-
single lift.
and I'm sure that there's other lines from there to where the house is
That's gonna
going,
have to
that it's
get-
gonna
yeah.
be lifted anyways, so.
Yeah, if it's a certain
Yeah.
height, yeah.
Let us know when you've done that.
Okay.
And then we will further chase this.
Okay,
That's the best we can do for tonight, so we're clear on exactly what needs
Yeah.
to be done. Okay, I believe we've covered off everything we can do in the public portion of the meeting. Does anybody have anything else that we could do here before we go on camera tonight? Okay, so what we will do is, we will take a recess for 10 minutes. When we come back, we'll be moving a resolution to go on camera.
okay.
Thank you. Go to section 11 on the agenda in camera. Be it resolved that pursuant to section 1523 of the Municipal Act, council shall meet as a committee of the whole. Close the meeting and continue discussions in camera regarding personnel matters, negotiations, preliminary discussions, unresolved legal matters, investigation or enforcement of acts, bylaws, and security of armed documents and property. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Blosha and Councillor Kushniryk, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. So we're back in open session. We'll go to section 12, notice of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion to present tonight for anything? Seeing none, we'll go to number 13. Be it resolved, this meeting shall now adjourn at 10:13 p.m. Be it further resolved, the next meeting is Tuesday, June. Must be June the 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Oh, I was hoping it wasn't June 7th.
Remember, of course, though, that we do have a public hearing tomorrow night at 7, and there's a special meeting called concurrent for that. A mover, please, Councillor Blosha, and a seconder, Councillor Zbirun. Any discussion? We'll call the question. Those in favor?